All right, another edition of Transfer Thursday. Woody Wommack here with Mitchell Forde. Mitchell, we explained all the transfer rules last week. We had it all figured out, and then they got changed slightly again. So the newest tweak to the transfer window format is that if a player graduates or has graduated already, that they can enter the portal at any time. And so we've seen a few names sprinkle in. What do you think will be the effects of that change, if any?
Yeah, I think the change actually happened like between when we recorded the last video and when we released it, which just goes to show you can't plan anything in advance when you're dealing with the NCAA. But no, so basically it's going to allow some players to still enter the portal this season. At first, when they decided to start enforcing the transfer window and pulled some players out of the portal there in mid-December and said, those who entered after August 31st have to wait. It seems like there wasn't going to be anyone entering the portal between now and the start of the first window, which is December 5th. But they've since clarified that players whose coaches have been fired or who have undergone a coaching change and now graduates can enter the portal. And so I think you're going to start seeing some more situations where, especially as we get to the point here where players are nearing that 4-game mark where they can maintain a year of eligibility. Those who have graduated you're going to see a few start to enter the portal, and we've actually already seen that in the past week.
Yeah, and with the COVID rules, with the extra COVID year that everybody got, basically, if you're a junior eligibility wise, I mean, a lot of these guys have graduated. It's insane, though. I mean, that's obviously a positive thing, off the field. But now you're going to see a lot of these players, they're on campus year round, they're graduating early. So I would say a lot of the people who would be entering the portal anyway are going to fit into that kind of graduation window, right?
For sure. Yeah, no, because I mean, players are now in school forever, right? We've seen that between the 4-game thing and the COVID year thing. You could have a guy who's a sophomore eligibility wise who, redshirted a year, had the COVID year, graduates in, 3.5 years and, is still able to graduate and enter the portal. So yeah, there's definitely a fair number of players who I think that will apply to, and a couple I think we're going to discuss here shortly.
All right, yeah. So the first guy who hit, the kind of guy who sort of sorted this rule out for us, was Braylen Ingraham, who was a kind of a controversial recruit, if I remember. I think we might have had him ranked lower than some people. He went to Alabama from down at St. Thomas Aquinas, a big time high school, and really just never saw the field for the tight end, to the point where when he entered the portal, I kind of talked to Rob Cassidy, who used to cover Florida for us. We sort of forgot about him. So he pops in, and you have to think that he's going to get instant interest right away, especially even though he didn't play, consider he's coming from Alabama, right?
Yeah, so from what I understand, he had actually been even off the roster for a little while. I'm not sure why it took so long to get him in the portal, reached out, didn't hear back, but because he's a grad transfer, it doesn't matter. And so, yeah, I think I would guess, and I'm not claiming to be like a scout expert here, but group of 5 schools, you should see plenty of interest. Even if a kid's not good enough to get on the field at Alabama, I would certainly think a former 4-star recruit, high 4-star recruit like him should get plenty of interest at the FBS level.
Yeah, and he was mad about the picture we used in the story. So if you could get a new picture, rectify that for him. But yeah, it kind of, it's just so weird how you, for some of these guys that are just like they're on your mind. They're on your mind. There's huge recruiting battles. Then they go to school and they don't play, and you kind of just forget about them. So that's one of the best things about the portal is he's going to get another shot. I honestly think you'll see anywhere from, you might see schools like UCF or USF get in the mix. I mean, obviously the local schools down there, FAU, FIU, always an option. But this was a guy who had a lot of talent. I mean, there's a reason he went to Alabama. It wasn't like, he was their last choice. He got a spot there. And I think even Miami, we're seeing Miami trying to lure a lot of these guys back home. So I would watch for them as well. Now, another interesting one, Hank Bachmeier, 4-star quarterback, kind of burst onto the scene as a freshman. I think that Boise State, they went down, they beat Florida State. It was kind of a way for him to introduce himself to the Cree. Seemed like he was going to be one of these guys who's a star at Boise State for years to come. Instead, they end up losing their coach, Brian Harsin. Now they have a new coach, Andy Avalos, comes in, is struggling. They fired the offensive coordinator. He got benched the first week, and now he's in the portal.
Yeah, speaking of guys who seems like they could play in college forever, he still has 2 years of eligibility now. So That's wild when you consider that he beat Florida State. What was that, like the 2019 season opener? It was a long time ago. So
it was Willie Taggart. Yeah, it was Willie
yeah,
Taggart.
it was Willie Taggart's first game. That's right. That's right. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, he entered the portal, and there he kind of fits under multiple labels here. I wasn't a head coach firing, but the offensive coordinator got fired. Boise's been a bit of a mess this season. Bachmeier has struggled, but still, you're talking about a guy who started 29 games over the past 4 years. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. I think anytime you've got a quarterback that has shown like some semblance of promise and starting ability, he's going to be coveted in the transfer market. It may not be at the very top of the Power 5 level, but he will find a landing place for sure. And as we mentioned, because he's a graduate, he's able to start hearing from coaches right away and kind of get a jump on the other guys who have to wait until December.
Yeah, I look at a school like Cal, who has a grad transfer quarterback plan right now. I actually saw their depth chart come through, and I was like, who are these quarterbacks on their team? Like, I see basically every recruit that comes through that commits to every school, and I had no idea who they were. So that leads me to believe that there'll be a market for him. And he's sort of, there's not a lot of 4-stars go to Boise State anyway. I think a lot of the schools kind of slept on him, and he did have a good relationship with the staff there, where him and Harsin were close, and I think that was why he chose to go there. Obviously, he leaves. I mean, maybe they'll reunite at another school, depending on what's going on. But I think he'll have his share of options. Real quick, the coaching change, we talked about it a little bit. What we've not seen a lot of guys hitting the portal yet. Do you think that's the 4-game thing? Do you think it's people writing it out? We're not seeing Nebraska players, Arizona players hitting the portal.
Yeah, I've been a little surprised by that as well. I don't really know that I have the answer other than, maybe I think there's a good chance that a lot of them maybe feels like there's an opportunity for playing time if the team is struggling. And, maybe you get new staffs in there, right? Nebraska not only has a new coach, they fired their defensive coordinator as well. Maybe you're getting new coaches in there who are, shaking things up, saying, hey, every position is kind of open for a battle right now. So you still could see that. I'm sure we will see it at some point, and especially at the end of the season, once guys maybe ride it out. But I've been a little bit surprised by that as well.
Yeah, I think you got to be careful. Got to protect that year. A lot of these players, I think, do need to protect that year, especially if you're not going to be playing all the time. But we'll keep following it. Things changing every single day, every single week. Be sure to check out rivalsportal.com. Got a ton of portal coverage, checking the guys who are popping in here and there. And then, of course, the current transfers that are having success in college. You can follow Mitchell on Twitter as well. So, all right, Mitchell, thanks for hanging out. We'll be back with another one next week.
Sure thing. Thanks, buddy.